What's a small thing you cannot help silently judging other people for? So I'm sitting at a bar for an after work drink with new coworkers and I'm trying to get to know these folk to, break the ice, get a conversation going, whatever. Six of us sitting around talking. I make no attempts to hide the fact that I play Magic the Gathering. I have a nice big side grain wood island in my kitchen. I can seat 8 if I have to. I host a game every other week. Drink some food, whoever shows up, shows up. This naturally spawns a lot of stories because it is a significant chunk of my life. Cooking stories, drinking stories, meeting the guys, doing group events, etc. Now back to the bar. I tell one of these stories and a new coworker is stupefied. I am 30-ish years old at this time and I'm pretty sure he's about the same age. Oh my god, like Magic, the card game? You dork, I used to make fun of kids in high school for that. He proceeds to let me know how not at all cool I am, how I should be embarrassed for my hobbies, and generally makes everyone uncomfortable. I take it all in stride. I don't care about this guy's opinion. I want to keep the conversation going, though, because work and coworkers, and it wouldn't be worth it leaving the conversation there. I ask, once he's done, what his hobbies are. Oh, I don't have hobbies. Really? You don't do something a week or take time for yourself or get out with friends on a weekend? Like, what do you like to do? No, I have a kid, so yeah, watch TV, I guess. He shrugs, looks down, takes a swig. At least I don't play Magic, though. I think I audibly groaned at that point. He was the worst. Maybe he should try Magic? It's way more engaging than whatever he's watching on TV, that's probably for sure. Story 2. People that don't use headphones. I'd be in the living room watching TV, and suddenly my roommate would start listening to some stupid video on Instagram or YouTube with the volume up loud enough I could no longer even hear the TV. Like, seriously? Or when I'm at work and the guy next to me starts listening to something without headphones. They cost like $8 at Walmart, people. To everyone saying to buy headphones for the TV, we would typically both be watching a show or game or what have you. He would just start going through his phone and then find a video he just had to watch right then and there. Also, I found the better solution was to just move out and get my own place. Story 3. When there's enough room for 3 people on the pavement and there's 2 people walking towards me and they don't move at all, so I have to step on the road to pass them. I mean, I'm almost 6'4" and just under 14 stone. If I didn't move, then most people would go flying. So to make me walk on the road to pass you on a pavement that's big enough for all 3 of us and not even acknowledge the kind act in the slightest is incredibly ignorant to me. Story 4. As someone who works in a restaurant, table etiquette, or lack thereof, food winding up on the table and floor, used napkins not put on plates after they're done, so we have to pick them up. Kids making lots of noise, being brats, running around the restaurant, and parents just letting it happen. Technology, phones, tablets, etc. out at the table. No attempt to help waitstaff like me and several others collect their plates when they're difficult to get to. Children drawing, putting stickers on the table. Parents parking strollers right in front of staff doors or emergency exits. And no one pushes their chairs back under the tables when they leave either. The way people behave in a restaurant says a lot about their character to me, and honestly, I'm just living in a town full of disgusting, self-centered slobs. Story 5. Fat people. I don't ever talk about this except with one close friend. I just don't understand why people who are so seriously overweight don't go to the damn gym. Don't tell me it's okay either. It's unhealthy to be overweight. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything bad about their personalities. I don't even know most of these I judge. But I don't agree with letting people believe that being fat is okay. I also don't believe it's out of their control. That's BS too. It may be more difficult for some than others to lose weight, but it's almost always possible. Story 6. People who are loud in libraries or parents who do nothing when their kids are being obnoxious in libraries. Just last night, I almost reprimanded a kid for running around and being disruptive. I pictured it in my head, whispering, "Shh, you're in a library." But the mom herself was talking loudly to her friend, and I worried she might get up in my face for saying that to her kid. I already knew she had no problem being loud, and I didn't want to cause more of a scene than they already were. I had the momentary feeling of justice flash through me as I imagined confronting her, but inevitably just chickened out. I also didn't want to be like a cranky old lady yelling at kids to get off her lawn, you know? But libraries are a sacred place for their stillness, and that little crap ruined it. Story 7. Cropping your dog's tail and ears. I was at the park with my daughter, and this family showed up with a dog that had its ears cropped and its tail cut. They may have been a nice enough family, but to be perfectly honest, the fact that they would do that to a dog just to make it look intimidating made me heavily judge them. My daughter and I wound up leaving right after they got there because the dog, which was an all-black bully breed that seemed to be pure muscle, was fixated on my dog and the family had an 11-year-old kid in charge of the leash. I felt a bit bad for judging them, but I don't trust anyone who thinks it is appropriate to do that to a dog to make it look intimidating to properly train a dog. It wasn't worth the risk of my 3-year-old daughter or dog being harmed. Story 8. It always blows my mind how many people feel the need to stand directly next to the baggage claim while waiting for their bag, often blocking other people from retrieving their luggage first. We were all just on this flight together. We all wanted to get our stuff and leave, so don't be a schmuck at the last moment and block everyone else's way. Just step back 5 feet, watch for your bag, and step up when it's your turn. No struggle, no ego trips, just a simple process. Story 9. What names they give their kids? Specifically, people who give their kids unique names by misspelling them, name them after fictional characters, or go out of their way to find exotic names from other countries they never set foot in. I'm pretty sure by the time they're adults, your kids would rather be one of 1,000 Johns, Toms, or Marys than a unique Jawan or Khaleesi, and no one is going to think that Aviana Kozimiya is exotic and cultured when her last name is Smith, Johnson, or Miller. Story 10. Screaming at their kids. Telling your kid to shut the hell up or calling them names is obviously bad, but I judge people for saying things like, pick your crap up and I don't give a damn. I don't have kids and I scream like a sailor, so I try not to judge parents too hard because I don't know what it's like to raise one. But screaming at kids just seems unnecessarily mean to me. Story 11. I work at a restaurant that serves Pepsi. I'm a cola guy. When someone orders a cola and I have to say, is Pepsi okay? And they say, sure. I feel for them, but still get a little miffed that they don't pick something else. Stand up for yourself, damn it. Sometimes they'll sound disgusted and jump to one of our non-Pepsi products and I internally cheer for them. One time I had a guy who said, heck yeah, Pepsi's better, and I about jumped through the headset and slapped him. Right, I'm convinced now that this would be a great is he a keeper test. Story 12. Smoking. Nobody starts to smoke because they like the taste. They start to smoke because they gave in to peer pressure, to their own insecurities, and because they, at least at that point, were too stupid to realize that harming yourself just isn't cool. The fact that some of them to this day can't sit in a restaurant for more than an hour without starting to go a little crazy screams weakness to me. So yeah, even though I know a lot of smokers and count many of them among my friends, I can't help but always judge them just a little bit. Story 13. People who put their feet up on the seat in front of them at cinemas or use their phones/talk during the movie. I will tell you to take your feet down, and I will tell you to shut up or turn it off. And I am baffled by how some of you take offense to being asked to take your feet down and shut up. Would you want a stranger's feet next to your face? Or to put your head back only to find you just put your head on someone's dirt and crap off their shoes and now it's in your hair? And God help you if I have to tell you twice. Story 14. Starting a conversation at an inappropriate time. I'm not completely antisocial about chit-chat and all, but yesterday I was at the checkout line in the grocery store, 7 items or less lane, trying to buy my one item, coffee for those inclined. The person in front of me paid and then turned around to start a conversation with me. The checker, who was stuck with this person just a second ago, scans my one item and then stands there staring into space. The talkative gentleman was standing in front of the register preventing me from paying, and while he's telling me about the candy prices in Montana some 50 years ago, I pull out my wallet, count out the cash necessary, put away my wallet. Then I grab my keys from my pocket, lean against the lane, reach over to the next guest's items and hand the cashier the money. The machine spits out the change, I reach around point of sale and pick up change, and I put it into charity, grab my receipt and coffee, and head for the door. Some say that if you listen just right, you can hear that guy still talking about penny candy to this day. Story 15. People who own AR-15s or AR-10 type weapons. Let's not kid ourselves. Those are military-style, people-ending weapons. It's the firearm equivalent of walking around in camouflage all day out in public. They're not good for home defense. They're good for home offense, where you don't mind ending anyone and everyone in and around the house and possibly the next house over. I was a Marine for 17 years. I carried the A2, the A4, and the M4 as my daily drivers. And they are pretty good weapons, but I never want to bring one home. Story 16. When people smoke, tobacco, or otherwise while walking. I hate when people do this because I have a phobia of it. It makes me really anxious when they do this because I have to smell their secondhand smoke until I either get ahead of them or they go a different way than me. It also just strikes me as being inconsiderate in general. You're basically forcing everyone around you to breathe in your secondhand smoke. And if you do this, I automatically label you as an inconsiderate person. Story 17. People who get lazy with linguistics. It's I couldn't care less, which means you have no less care to give. I could care less means you actually do care. Double negatives also anger me off. I didn't want no blank. Anything you say after that is irrelevant. You sound stupid, and what you want doesn't matter anymore because all I want for you is to shut the heck up. Also, there, they are, there, and and two, TWO, and then 2OO, etc. It's so simple. There with a apostrophe RE is they are. There with THEIR belongs to them. And of course, there, THERE is for everything else. 2, TWO, is a number. 200 means also or gives value, like too much, too big, etc. And the regular old TO is for everything else. Even writing in English for what? How long? And you don't know the basic grammar? And for the last time, you do not literally have a heart attack. You did not literally pass away. There were literally a million people in your way, and you were not literally starving. You're figuratively doing all of these things, but now because we misused it so many times, quote unquote, literally means figuratively, used for emphasis or to express strong feelings while not being literally true. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect by any means, but the things some people say just make them sound unintelligent. Story 18. People who don't regularly lock their doors, house, or car, or leave the garage door open for extended periods of time for no reason when they're not even outside, like all day or overnight or something. I know you should not expect someone to invade your personal space, but if you don't even take the most basic precautions, then I don't feel sorry for you when you get robbed or your car is stolen. I live in a gated community that has recently had a handful of expensive cars stolen right out of the driveway of residents' homes. All were left unlocked with the key inside. Like, come on, it's not rocket science. Story 19. The clothes some women wear. I'm not talking about a low-cut top or a short skirt. Those are fine. Likewise, if you want to run around in pajamas, go for it. But please at least wear them in the size that fits you and stick to styles for your size. For example, big women wear leggings. Just make sure your top is long enough to go past your back and bottom belly. I can't stop judging that 40-year-old size 6 woman going into a Red Robin. Why did you think it was okay to wear an ugly yellow floral romper for lunch? Story 20. People eating at fast food places like McDonald's despite being fat or obese. Like, sure, it's your body, but if I was overweight, the amount of self-hatred that would grow in me for going to Mickey D's while overweight would prevent me from doing that ever. So I just don't understand how people can have this little self-control, I guess. Or whatever it is, I just really grinds my gears. I can't help but think how you can live with yourself like this. I wouldn't ever say stuff like that. It's their life, not mine, but I can't help but think about it. Story 21. People who throw cigarettes on the ground, stop it. You're giving us all smokers a bad name. If there isn't an ashtray or a trash can around, field strip it and put it in your back pocket until you find one. This would drive me absolutely insane at college. I constantly saw 2 people standing within arm's reach of a trash can, and then they'd flick their cig off into the distance when they were done with it. Story 22. Having poorly mannered kids, like the kind who are older than 5 and still say gimme when they want something. Other sins include screaming in the ears of strangers, coughing without covering their mouths, pushing people, being mean to or frightening an animal, or knocking things off shelves in the grocery store, splashing other people at the pool. All of those things occur. I 100% understand kids act out. But if you can't teach them to act well by an appropriate age, you bet your ass I'm judging you. I imagine this is extra frustrating for parents whose well-mannered children have to deal with poorly mannered kids. Story 23. People who eat or drink while they're shopping at the grocery store, even if they're eventually going to pay for the items. This isn't social hour. You're not supposed to be making yourself comfortable. You go to the store, buy your crap, and then leave. I can't stand getting stuck behind 2 or 3 middle-aged schmucks who are casually strolling down an aisle, shoulder to shoulder, with their carts out in front of them, eating bags of Doritos and drinking Diet Pepsi. Especially when they look at me like I'm the schmuck and when I say, excuse me, so I can get around them. Story 24. When people say they care about their star sign but have never heard of precession, I just pull out my phone and check the actual reality of what constellation was behind the sun when they were born. Though I guess I'm not always quiet about it. My ex and I were at brunch with their friends and they went on a 30-minute deal about how they were such Scorpios and how they could never date a XYZ sign. Oh, and how relieved they were that I was a Pisces. Man, I couldn't have cared less, but after 30 minutes of absurd I'm a Scorpio, Scorpio stuff, blah, 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 it was just delicious to tell 2/3 of them that they had their star sign wrong because they hadn't bothered to look up even the most basic astronomical information about this crap they were using to make decisions. I didn't get that night, and it didn't make me popular with her friends. Buyer beware. Story 25. I work in after school daycare, and I can't help but judge some of the parents of the worst children. For the most part, I understand that kids will be kids, and some of their bad behavior is to be expected, or not at the fault of the parent. But when a kid tells me that the reason he smacks other kids to get what he wants is because of how it works at home, I can't even look at the parent the same way. A lot of the families are overworked and low income, but it is an excuse if your kid is learning that violence is the answer to everything. Also, to a more petty degree, parents who don't seem interested at all in what their kid did that day. If I have time, I try to do the same thing, whether it be a good or a bad, and some parents just nod their head and drag their kid out the door. Story 26. Crappy tie knots. I know it's superficial and everything. But for sheesh's sakes, you're a grown man. Learn how to tie it. I just feel that it is kind of disrespectful when I have a meeting with someone and the tie looks like it was tied by a 3-year-old kid. I mean, you could have spent the extra 5 minutes and do it over once more. And the same goes for dress shoes. I don't care whether they are super cheap, mine are as well. But it won't end you to spend the extra 2 minutes quickly brushing them and using a bit of quick shining sponge on them. It just feels like the person you are meeting is not even worth that. Story 27. I judge people for bragging about something that actually makes them sound or look dumb. Like telling me how much they save money with big sales and coupons, but they're buying things they don't need and wouldn't have bought otherwise. Or bragging they got 3 cents off per gallon on their tank of gas, 14 gallons, while they're buying a coffee and scone at Starbucks. Bragging of a brilliant idea for a product that has already existed for decades, I could go on forever. Story 28. Fashion, style, body-focused Instagram accounts that are just about the person. There are just way too many self-serving accounts for added value in these superficial areas. The aura of these people comes off as, quote, look at me, I'm cooler than, / I have it all. Maybe if someone was modeling a cool outfit while doing something cool or adding tangible value, like being an architect or something, it'd be fine. More stylish architects. Less people looking cool for the sake of looking cool. Story 29. Skin color, but I mean not aggressive, but in the past few months, I've realized that I treat black people differently to white people, and I know it's super shameful. When I walk down the street, if there's a black guy walking the opposite way, I take a step to the left to further my distance. I am more aware of black people around me because I have a subconscious prejudice against them, it seems. I want to apologize to anyone that this has caused offense to, and I honestly am trying to change the way I think. Story 30. People who intentionally don't look like me, for example, when we're the only 2 people on a sidewalk passing in opposite directions. If I were a few individuals, I could write it off as social anxiety, but it's a pattern and one that is predominantly exhibited by men. Look, I know my body doesn't look like our culture's ideal, but I'm still a fellow human being. I won't jump you and kiss you just because you glance in my direction or even make eye contact, and I know when you're looking away, it is intentional. Story 31. People who chew with their mouths open, people who have to make everything about politics, people who have to completely stop to make a right turn, people who blindly follow experts simply because they are educated, people who think a single philosopher is the right one, people who attack the structure of an argument instead of what the argument presents, people who spend 10 plus minutes in a line for fast food but still don't know WTF what they want when they get to the front, people who downvote a post that they disagree with. It's supposed to be for posts that don't contribute to the thread in any way. This wasn't supposed to be an echo chamber. Story 32. People who are rude to service workers. My BF and I pulled over at a highway rest stop late at night and got in line at Burger King behind a couple. A woman in her 40s was the only one working there, and the guy in front of us started screaming, "Yeah, take longer, lady, you're great at this." Then he whistled at her to get her attention, and she said, "Don't whistle at me, I'm not a dog." And he responded, "Screw you, loser, you work at a rest stop." My boyfriend and I immediately were like, "Whoa, who the heck are you? How dare you have the nerve to say something like that to a person?" The guy's GF pulled him away and they left. We gave her a big tip and compliments and she gave us lots of fries for free. To this day, I still want to punch that guy in the face. And if you're enjoying the video and connecting with at least one of these stories, please don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 33. People that can't think independently. For example, during any budget discussion during the last administration, my MIL talked about a blue streak over the debt ceiling and why it's a bad idea to raise it, because it unfairly burdens future generations because those were the oft-repeated talking points on her preferred news outlet. Fast forward to yesterday, in the passage of the latest budget, the debt ceiling was raised again and it was crickets from my MIL. I asked her opinion and she wasn't sure what I was referring to. No gnashing of teeth, no wailing about future generations as burdens. Just a passing comment that it must be good for our military and America. Facepalm. Story 34. If you can't spell, then you can't spell. I can be a bit of a schmuck about it in my head, and I know that, and I'm trying to stop it. Some people have less of an innate sense of it than others, and of course, ELLs get a pass. But what really rubs me the wrong way is when someone uses a word that they're clearly employing to impress their audience with fancy words, and they spell that wrong. That one just drives me crazy. I really like simplicity in writing, which again I realize is a personal preference. And I find it hard to put in words exactly what I mean, which again makes my point less legitimate. I get that. But there are certain words or phrases that I see people use to make their writing or speech fancier, which is actually just deeply transparent, especially when spelled wrong. My boyfriend's landlord is being a schmuck. One of the most annoying parts of the whole struggle was watching him write, eke out a living. EKE, eke is a rare word. Yes, it's uncommon if you don't do crossword puzzles in which you should be able to spell it. If you want to use a fun, uncommon word, you will appear well-read and smart. If you use that word wrongly, you look like a pretentious, oblivious, and maybe even unintelligent person. I immediately take you less seriously. The same goes for people who use whilst when while is correct, and less of a ridiculous r/I am very smart thing to do. I've seen friends write emails to professors and put whilst, and when you ask why, they say it seems to sound smarter. Do people truly not understand how that looks? Story 35. Their teeth/dental work. I know that a lot of people can't afford proper dental care, and bad teeth aren't their fault. However, missing/crooked/gapped/badly stained/ugly teeth unfortunately make a bad first impression of that person. Imagine my horror when I had a tooth that couldn't hold a crown, and I had to have it removed and get an implant done. It was a bit further back in my mouth, but the missing tooth gap before the implant could be seen if I smiled too wildly. I judge other people for their dental work, but I also judge myself. I also judge if someone went wild when they had their teeth whitened and can practically blind me with that unnatural whiteness. My best example of this is that Chumley guy on Palm Stars. Dude is just a mess with freaky white teeth. Story 36. Parking on the damn pavement because you don't want to walk an extra 30 damn steps. Mostly lazy people that want KFC. I've gotten to the point where I'll take a photo and email it to the parking enforcement officers at the council. They get extra quota, and it inconveniences the person making things difficult for me. I should point out that if I go to the local shop, I have to take my mother with me, and she isn't too stable on her feet. The people who park on the pavement make it insanely awkward as I can't walk side by side and support her balance. Story 37. In our office, the elevators are insanely slow. Like, due to this, there are signs everywhere that say, quote, be courteous, 1 up, 2 down. Meaning, take the stairs if you're going to 1 floor up or 2 floors down. 95% of people follow this rule. Makes sense due to how the elevators are situated. It's easier to get from most people's desks to the stairs rather than the elevator. And then, well, there is the 5%. They always make excuses. Got on 17, got off 16. Oh, today I'm just being so lazy. Oh, really, Pam? Today was Thursday, your lazy day as well, and Wednesday. What happened there, Pam? I never do this, I'm sorry. Pushes 3 when he gets on at 4. Oh, really, Sam? I must be goddamn crazy then. Maybe I should go get my brain checked out by one of those doctors or something, because I could have sworn you did that yesterday too. 1 up, 2 down. I will judge you every frickin' time you break that rule. Story 38. People who have an obsession with anime and refuse to come out and live in the real world. I read and watch a few, and I work with a guy who makes really fantastic cosplay, but it's that one type of person who walks around 24/7 with the same Naruto headband they've had since high school and always feels the need to call everyone by some anime character name like Heiichi or Greetings Soki-san. These are the same type of people who are in their late 20s, eat poke for dinner, and sleep with their anime wife pillow. I went to school with a girl who fell into a deep depression, missed half a semester, stopped eating, and lost 30 pounds, all because a character she loved in an anime lost his tail at the end of a season. I really feel like this will be classified as a mental disability in a few years. Well, they're probably just practicing for when they inevitably get transported to the anime world. Story 39. I silently judge people who wear pajamas in public. I just feel like there's a serious lack of self-respect there. I'm aware that many of us do not share my disdain of public pajama wearers, PPWs, and will argue that it is comfy. Great, for you. I have comfortable clothes that aren't pajamas. I see PPWs and I think about the fact that what they're wearing has been in their nasty bed, And that also indicates that they haven't showered recently either. It's lazy. Getting dressed, washing your face, and brushing your teeth and hair takes less than 5 to 7 minutes. PPW is gross in my opinion, but I don't call people out, I just silently judge. Story 40. I pretty much go insane whenever people walk up to a crossing and repeatedly press the button to cross, like slamming it over and over like it's gonna make it go faster. Also, when I've pressed it and I'm waiting to be able to cross and someone else comes along and pushes it, do they think I was just standing there waiting for them to come along and do it for me? Or is it just a force of habit to do it themselves? I feel like I get way too angry about this, but whenever it happens, it immediately fills me with rage, and I'd probably make a snarky comment about it, something like, "Whoa, thank God you did that. I would have never thought to do it myself." If only I wasn't the least confrontational person in existence. Plus, it really doesn't matter. I just hate it. Story 41. Those people that merge onto the road you're on, there's no traffic behind you or in front, and they perfectly match your speed in the merge lane and look at you like you're supposed to adjust and let them in. The other type is the one that comes up to the merge lane, merges in front of you at like 20 miles per hour less than you're going, forcing you to slow down while they spend the next 45 seconds accelerating slowly to highway speed. What's funny is it seems like the people in the big, powerful soccer mom SUVs that have a fairly fast 0 to 60 time are the ones that always refuse to just push the gas pedal down some more. Story 42. Overt modesty. Those people who don't have the self-esteem or honesty to admit they're good at something. Modesty is lying, and it's fine if you don't want to make a fuss for whatever reason, but doing it almost all the time anyone mentions something you're good at really gets on my nerves. "Oh, I'm terrible at that. Oh, I'm no good at that. Yeah, I'm not that great." When the reality is they are good or above good at it. It's like, wake the heck up. It's not arrogant to say you're good at something. Calling yourself useless at everything is pathetic, not funny. It's fun to joke now and then, going clearly tongue-in-cheek, but not all the time. It makes me despise you over time. I also hate arrogance. There is a line to be treading here, but basically stop putting yourself down. And if you're great at something, I want to hear you say you are and have a conversation about something you're clearly into and have spent time getting good at. Not some limp fish comment about how bad you are when I know the reverse to be true. Story 43. Putting your towels and beach chairs next to me on the beach even though there is open space 10 yards away because you're too lazy to walk there. I like my space. That's why I got up early to get the spot I did. Beach etiquette, people. And don't put your chair in front of my towel because you want to be on the beach if it is packed. I came early enough to have my spot and far enough away from the surf so that my stuff does not get taken by the tide. Story 44. People who are super amazing at their job but are terrible with their own family. For example, a teacher in my school has amazing scores, fantastic classroom management, and runs a very tight classroom. Yet her son, who is in my class, is completely out of control with her. She tells me how much she struggles with her son, fourth grader, and that she doesn't know what else to do. The thing is, she has allowed him to not respect her. He calls her by her first name, not mom. She gives empty threats and doesn't follow through with any punishment. That boy is in my class and he does fine for me. Story 45. Not using their blinker, leaving their carts in the middle of the parking lot or entrance at Walmart, using their phone while driving, having children, being cruel to animals, or rude to people working in customer service. Especially kids. Get your kids away from me. I was waiting at the pharmacy the other day and this lady let her kid run all over and climb up next to me swinging some type of toy, hitting my chair. Teach your kids some manners like when to sit still and when to shut up. All the crappy parents out there have made me hate children, so I spend my time helping cats. Story 46. The way they dress, the way they act. I can quickly get over speech if the conversation is stimulating, but if you dress ghetto and have ghetto things to say, I'm not going to associate with you. Also, substance use while I'm present. I don't care if you use it, but I don't like to be around it, and I don't respect people who are constantly spiked. In the same breath, if I had unlimited access, I would take one about every 5 hours, so I guess I'm a hypocrite. Maybe I'm just jealous. And basically successful people that feel like they struggled but don't know the meaning of the word. They generally all know the correct path in life. It's like the majority of them have never chosen a path, then be screwed because of circumstances out of their hands and had to scrape by for a couple of years while they got their life together. A lot of people can't be successful because they were blindsided by life. I absolutely hate people that don't have enough life experience to count their blessings. You work, you make good money. Sure, some people apply being lazy, but I think a lot of people would trade places with you in a second. And I absolutely hate people who are not thankful. Do I want more? Yes, but I am happy because I am thankful. Story 47. I know this is weird. Chalk it up to passing through high school at a time when it was cool to be casual and unkempt. I react negatively to women who are beautifully dressed and or made up. I prefer someone in blue jeans and a sweatshirt or sweater with no makeup. The women who put a lot of money and effort into their appearance are presenting themselves as beauty objects or something. I make up that they're less accomplished, less interesting because being beautiful is their thing. So why should they put effort into sports or hobbies or intellectual pursuits? I also fear that they would be expensive if we make a relationship, probably not contributing much to household income, if anything, and probably spending my money on their clothes and their spa and their makeup. Of course, there are zillions of exceptions, women who care about their appearance and look great while being very accomplished. I probably miss out on some wonderful women because I've mistakenly judged them negatively because they look so good. Story 48. Bringing an 8-year-old on a plane without snacks / something for the kid to do. It's boring for the kid. I remember my first plane trip as a 12-year-old, 18 hours to Hong Kong, and the only interesting parts of it were takeoff and landing. My dad gave me permission to bring my Game Boy and also bought coloring packages at the airport, the use water to color pages. I was quiet for all of the flight. I came back from Cuba last week and a kid kicked my seat all the way to the resort. Grandma/grandpa/mom, dad didn't pack anything for the kid to do. Story 49. People who wear their clothes in the most ridiculous of ways and park in spaces that are not theirs. 2 examples. You're a man, and for some reason you think it's so cool to have your pants sit below your rear so that everybody can unwillingly view your garments as if it is something to be cherished by the general population. You, sir, are ignorant. I cannot stand walking into a store and seeing someone parked in a space that is clearly marked with lines that indicate no parking. It is literally not a parking space, and yet there you are. Or those who take up 2 spaces deliberately, or those who park on the fire lane. I was going to Walmart last night and I was on the sidewalk, and as I was passing by, someone passed by the no parking zone and stopped and adjusted and just plainly, deliberately parked there. So I just stared at him, making my disdain of his ignorance obvious. Then I continued on my way because I knew it would do no good. Story 50. People who throw away and waste perfectly fine food because they're full or they don't like it, or especially when it's people at a store or restaurant doing it because it was a wrong order or something. Seriously, it's something that literally gets me upset enough times to the point where I've said something about it to people higher up than me at restaurant jobs who do it. Hell, sometimes when my manager or something would throw perfect food in the trash, I would just dig it out and put it in a box for myself right in front of the person out of spite. Story 51. Any person wearing lipstick is annoying to me. It's really hard to do it properly without smearing it or getting it on your teeth. Lots don't have the right lips for it, so why draw attention to it? You then get it on anything you touch with your lips, straws, glasses, food, cigarette filters, and worst of all, the person you kiss. You're also constantly worried that it's not on properly anymore and keep checking mirrors to redo it. So anyone who wears lipstick is automatically annoying to me. I just cannot help it. I'm not talking about clear lip balm that people wear to help dry their lips. I'm talking about that red crap. Story 52. Different sorts of typing, grammatical, syntax, punctuation, etc., errors in people's writing. I'm an editor, so it's not so much that I judge someone simply on the basis that they make errors. Certain types of people have certain types of patterns of errors. Mistakes happen all the time, so that's whatever. But if you're one of those dang people who use 2 spaces after a period, I know there's no convincing you of any other way, but knock it off. Like, holy sheesh, even with find and replace, it's obnoxious. And we just take them all back out after you submit it to us, right? We will prevail. You and your double spacing ways will be eradicated. Story 53. I was recently called for jury duty. Somehow I got put on a long-term case even though I said that I wouldn't be paid for that long. The first thing I noticed when I got in was that the defense lawyer's suit did not fit at all. How can you be a lawyer making good money and have a suit in 2018 that looks like a zoot suit? So I used this as my internal justification for why I could not be impartial in the case. Same guy also pulled out Girl Scout cookies during this whole thing, in front of everyone. Didn't even offer any to the others at his table. Samoas, my favorite. They were smart to not pick me. What a schmuck. Story 54. Parents who let their kids do whatever they want in public and can't muster more than a weak, "Come back here, honey," over and over without their kid listening one bit. Was at the pediatrician's office with my sick kid sitting quietly in a chair being miserable, but super chatty with me in a quiet voice, while the mom nearby let her sick, snotty, coughing kid wander around by everyone else and even into the well children section without getting off her back to stop her. Story 55. I'm super late to the party, so purely this will get buried, but lack of train etiquette annoys me. I live in Boston, and the T is already an overcrowded crap show. It's only made worse by people who refuse to fill in the possible space in the back of the train, who play the crappy music out of their phone speaker, who take up an extra seat with their wide stance or a bag, etc., etc., etc. Yesterday on my commute home, the train was more crowded than usual, and there was a group of people who got on and stood near the door since there was no space to file in. This would normally be fine, but they were refusing to temporarily step off the train so others could get out. And they were looking at me and everyone else like we were the crazy ones for saying, "Excuse me, this is my stop." Story 56. Seeing someone pick something of relatively good quality, i.e., a little pricier at a supermarket, but then also buy battery farm eggs. Like, I can understand people who need to scrimp and save, so they buy the cheapest version of everything. But if you're buying fancy milk with your cheap eggs, you could easily afford better eggs. And the reason it angers me off is just how battery egg chickens are treated. I know free range isn't perfect, but it's at least slightly more humane. Anyone who buys battery farm eggs can't claim ignorance unless you live in a hole, like you can with mysteriously cheap pork, or at least that's how I think. There are other small things, but this is the one which really rubs me the wrong way if it's a small, petty thing. Story 57. Tattoos on women. Mentally, I know it's a double standard, and B, probably has zero bearing on anything about their personality, but I feel like somehow my opinion changes when I see tattoos on a woman. I'm not even sure how or what that opinion becomes, it's just kind of this weird thing in the back of my head. Funny enough, I feel like I prefer when a girl has a tattoo sleeve versus just one or two, quote, hidden tattoos. I don't know what to make of that either. Story 58. Inability to notice things, especially things that have gone awry. Most recent example, almost nobody noticed the fact that the SpaceX Falcon Heavy broadcast was showing one booster's camera feed on two windows, contrary to what they intended. A person during the broadcast specifically pointed out, erroneously, that it was the two separate boosters. People made videos about the event later and were enthused about how great it was that both boosters could be seen in action in separate windows. I don't consider myself superhuman, but it was painfully obvious to me, within seconds of the two windows appearing, that they were identical. And this kind of thing seems to happen all the time. And if you like these stories, or one of these at least got to you, good or bad, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video.